Hi, and welcome back to this episode. So today I want to unpack what purpose means and the exploration that I've been through and I've taken my clients through when we're looking at this word purpose. A lot of people have this belief that your purpose is what you do, right? So then why do we feel unfulfilled in our jobs, or why do we feel unfulfilled even when we have our own businesses, thinking, yeah, but I'm fulfilling my purpose, right? I'm fulfilling my purpose by helping people in this way. So why do I still not feel content, or why do I still not feel purposeful? And I want to challenge this belief here. I want to challenge the belief that your purpose is what you do. Your purpose is not what you do. Okay? It's not something that you find externally to you. It is something that you live, okay? It is who you are as a person, and how when you can align your life and your business with your core values, it is the fastest way to feel fulfilled, to trust the process of your life and your business, and to create sustainable success. Now, values are something that I am always so shocked at how many people do not take the time to even break down what their values are. A lot of people don't even know what the word values means, right? So in this episode, you're going to learn why your purpose isn't tied to your job title or to your achievements. We're going to explore how to actually discover what your values are, particularly your values in business and in life, so that you can actually start to apply them immediately. So I'll run you through an exercise that you can do, which will be super, super helpful. And then we're also going to be looking at, like, how do I then apply my values in real time? So what does that actually look like? So if you are feeling stuck, if you are feeling unfulfilled, if you're feeling like resentful, or you're feeling like, your boundaries are constantly being crossed, this would be an indication that you are not living a life in alignment to your values. Now, in the previous episode, I spoke about my journey, right? The journey where I kind of lost everything in my business. I lost all of my money. I really lost my sense of self-worth. I felt a lot of shame and I felt a lot of confusion. And if you haven't listened to that episode, it's the first episode in this series, in this podcast. So go back and have a listen to that. But I talked a lot about how connecting to my values actually helped me to make decisions in my business now, which have led to sustainable success, to a sense of contentment, to a sense of true fulfillment, and also a deep feeling of like, yes, I am living out my purpose. And I really wanted this to be the next, episode, because I want you guys to start from this place. It's such a helpful tool to actually know what your values are, so that you can live a life in alignment to those things, and therefore feel a sense of purpose in everything that you do, because who you are is something that you deeply believe in. So what are values, right? A lot of people go like, what is a value? What does that even mean? Most people would explain values as it's something that's important to you. So people have different values, and that's okay. There's no like right or wrong values. It's about what is important to you. What makes you feel a sense of meaning? What makes you feel a sense of joy or a sense of contentment? And you can think back to moments in your life when things really feel like they're in flow, like everything's just working out really easily, or I feel really, really connected to my partner, or I just feel like life is so, it feels so expansive at the moment. It feels like everything is, I want to use the word easy. That would be an indication that you are living your life in accordance to your values. On the contrary to that, when you feel like everything is so hard, I feel like everything is very jarring, I feel bitter towards my life, I feel resentful towards my partner or my business, I feel misunderstood, I feel like everything is against me, I'm exhausted at the thought of doing something, right? Whether that be showing up for a course that you are running, or maybe if you have an offering in your business, and every time time you go to show up for it, you're like, oh, this feels so heavy, this feels so exhaustive. In your business, it would mean that you are not living or you are not running your business in accordance to your values. So the thing that you're executing on actually feels heavy, resentful, you feel exhausted at the thought of doing it, right? So this is a really good indication that something is off, okay? Now, I want you to, in order for us to dive into the exercise, I want you to get out a piece of paper initially. So get out a piece of paper, and I want you to break the piece of paper down into a few different categories to begin with. Now, for the sake of this podcast, we're going to focus on just lifestyle and business, but you can include the categories of lifestyle, friendships, romantic relationships or love, family and parenting, business, money, health, and spirituality. So there's 8 different categories there, right? Now, I want you to sit, and for the sake of today, like I said, let's think about lifestyle and then let's think about business. So like I said earlier, when you're living in accordance to your values, things feel like they are flowing. Things feel easy. You feel excited to engage in whatever it is that you're doing. So think about your lifestyle. So think about my life in general and your life in general, and maybe just close your eyes for a second and try to contemplate on, over the past couple of weeks, what moments do you remember in your life feeling a sense of everything's going well. I feel really good here. I feel really at ease. My soul feels really content. And I want you to ask yourself, what was happening in that moment? What was happening in that moment? Now, when you start to do some inquiry around this, start to work out or write down whatever words come to mind, okay? So you want to notice what was really present in these moments where, the highs. So write down under the lifestyle category and under your business category, do the same. What were the highs? What felt really, really good? And then I want you to do the opposite. I want you to think past over the past 2 to 4 weeks and think about in your lifestyle, when did you feel oh, this was so hard. This was so exhausting. I felt really angry. I felt really bitter. My body felt it was contracting at this thing. Write those down. What were the lows, so to speak, right? And then do the same thing for your business. Where did you feel you were, in a space of resistance, or you were getting really flustered or frustrated with your business, right? What was happening? Write it down. Now, both your highs and your lows are going to give you an indication of what your values were. Because the thing is, when you're in your highs, it usually means that you're living in accordance to your values. When you're in your lows, it usually means that a value is being compromised. So in other words, it's almost like a boundary is being crossed. So your values, whatever your values are, and this is another good hack to know outside of what we're talking about, but just for life in general. If you know what your values are, your values will then also determine what your boundaries are, which is such a useful tool to have across all facets of life. It helps you to communicate what is important to you in your relationships, in your friendships, in your business, etc. It gives you the language to set expectations, which is so amazing. So I digress a little bit, but that's really, really important. So coming back to looking at your highs and your lows. Your lows are going to indicate where a boundary has been crossed or your values have not been fulfilled. So, for example, if let's say I think back and maybe there's a client of mine that I'm thinking of, or there's a client that I've worked with, and every time I work with them, I feel a sense of dread. Or I feel a sense of exhaustion before the session's even started. Or I feel a sense of oh, I really don't want to do this, right? That would be an invitation for me to say, okay, why? Why do I feel that with them and not with somebody else? What's happening here? And if I think back to the old version of me, the version of me that was very much living a life through, people pleasing and appeasing, I might discover, well, with this particular client, I discounted my rates. And also, I always seem to allow them to go overtime in our sessions. And both of those things feel really draining to me, and they go against my values of time. Like, I really value time. I really value respecting my time, respecting other people's time. I really value other people respecting my time. Like, that is really, really important to me as a value. So I can see from the feeling that I was having with that client that that time boundary or that time value was not being respected, right? And then second to that, it's this like discounting in order to appease and please somebody else. So the fear of like, you know, not being liked or not wanting to be worked with because I was due to raise my rates, right? So that feeling of a mismatch of energy and, you know, placing value around the work that I do. And once again, value, monetary value around my time and my education and the years that I've had in doing what I do. So both of those things would indicate, okay, cool, like these are my values and this is how those values are being compromised. And therefore it gives me an idea of what I need to do in order to change that, to make it feel more exciting, more in flow, more values based, okay? So on your piece of paper, you're gonna look at my lifestyle, my business. What were my highs? What were my lows? What were my highs? What were my lows? And then from those, extract recurring themes, recurring words that come up, okay? And these are gonna start to showcase your values. For example, you might notice words such as freedom, growth, connection, creativity, impact, time, maybe you like things to be in order, right? Maybe order is a value of yours. Maybe spontaneity is a value of yours. Maybe peacefulness is a value of yours. Maybe honesty, maybe integrity, right? So just writing down what comes up, okay? And then you want to define each value in action. So you're going to have a list of your values under both categories. And then I want you to start to think of, okay, well, what does this value look like in action? Let's just focus on business for the sake of today, okay? So under your business category, for each value, you're going to write, I live this value when I, right? So for example, I live my value of integrity when I am transparent with my clients, even if it costs me a sale, right? So what that means is I value being integral. I value being honest with my clients. And so I am never gonna hide the prices of working with me, or I'm never going to try to coerce somebody into working with me if they don't have the funds. Even if that means that that person says no, that's fine. I can trust that I was following my value and therefore that person is not the right person for me at this time. And I trust in their decision and I respect their decision. That is me living in integrity of what I believe, what I value. And I feel good about that conversation. They feel good about that conversation usually. And then I can trust in the process, right? So that would be that value in action. Okay, another example might be if freedom is a value of yours, you might say, I live my value of freedom in my business when I give myself my mornings off to go to the gym, to have quality time with my children, and to connect with my partner. So what that might look like in action is that you don't actually start work, you don't actually start seeing your clients until 9 or 10 in the morning, because you value freedom. If you're telling your clients, yeah, I can start working with you from 7 a.m. and your child is like, but I need you, I want you, and then you're feeling disconnected from your partner, and then you're skipping breakfast and you're feeling sluggish in your body and you just wish you had more time to look after yourself, you're not going to enjoy showing up in your business every morning. It's going to feel hard. You're going to start to resent your business as a whole. So if this is not possible for you to do every single day, I would highly suggest that you at least start doing it for 2 days a week, moving up to 3, 4, and then 5 days a week, where you're creating the time that you need, the freedom that you want to actually really enjoy showing up, so that when you are showing up in your business, you're fully present, you're fully there, you're fully excited, and your clients pick up on that. You also feel fulfilled in your family, you feel fulfilled with your time. Now, even in that example, we can see that a couple of other values are also present. One of those being, I value quality time with my child, and I value quality time with my partner. And also I value my health through the way of exercise, right? So you can start to see, okay, here are all my values being extrapolated from that one example, okay? So then I want you to audit your business. So once you have your list and you can see, okay, for each of these values, what does that look like in action? This is going to provide a roadmap for you. This is going to be like a compass or a blueprint, if you will, of how do I start to make tweaks to my business and my life so that I feel like I am living more in my purpose, okay? And this is where things can get really interesting because it starts to show you where change needs to happen. So you're gonna audit your business in accordance to your values and ask yourself, okay, here's my value, here's what it would look like in action. Am I doing this or not? If you're not doing it, then what needs to change? And how can I experiment with that change today or this week, right? Notice as you do this, what fears arise for you. Because remember in the previous episode, I talked about the conditioning, right? The conditioning that we've all experienced. Our childhood wounds. I talked about feelings of shame. I talked about also like these learned behaviors and coping mechanisms that, you know, keep us safe, make us feel as though like we need to be this way in order to be liked, etc. So when we start to shift away from our conditioning and more into a values-led, heart-led business model or life model, it means that we may need to decondition or unlearn some of those things that we have adopted over the course of our lives. And naturally, that is going to feel scary to your nervous system, and you are also going to come up with all of the reasons why you should not do that. So the fear will come up because those conditioned states once upon a time kept you safe and attached. So understandably, your nervous system is going to be like, whoa, hold up, like if we act like this, then we're going to lose all our clients. If we do this, then we won't be successful. If we do it like that, then blah, 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 blah. There'll always be like these excuses. Now, what I want you to remember, and start slowly, right? It's like exposure therapy. Start slowly, start with the values that feel the most, like, you know, the most easy for your nervous system to contemplate changing, and, you know, start just introducing things very slowly, very sustainably. What I want you to remember is that when you live a life and when you run a business that is in accordance to your values, it makes it so much easier to trust the process. When people say, just trust the process, just trust the process, sometimes that can be really hard because fear is so present, right? Your values help your nervous system and your intuition, your heart, your soul, your mind to all be operating cohesively, to all be on the same page. So even if you make a decision that is hard, even if you make a decision that results in, a difficult conversation, or it means that we have to let go of something in order to grow a certain way, or even if it means that something develops a little bit more slowly than what you may see online, if you know that that decision was made in integrity, if you know that that decision came from your core values, if you know that that decision is really what aligns to what is meaningful for you, then it's okay. Right? Sometimes listening to our intuition and following our values, it still results in hard things. It just means that we know in our body that it is the right thing. Even though it's hard, we know that it's right. And when you kind of live via your values, even the hard things, you can be like, no, I know this is hard, and also I know that this is the right choice. And that knowing makes navigating the hard things so much easier because you know that you've done it from a place that is so true and so meaningful to you. So I'd love to hear your feedback on this. Please leave a comment. If you found this exercise helpful, or if you have any questions at all, I'll be more than happy to, support you and help to answer them for you. All of this kind of work is the work that I teach inside one of my business courses called the Empowered Practitioner Method. So if you are interested in really, really knowing like the step-by-steps of how to create a sustainable online business, looking at the psychology, the nervous system, as well as the strategy, then you might be interested in that, and I'll leave the link in the show notes. But all in all, I hope this has been really, really helpful, and I will see you in the next episode.